Hello, friends, and welcome back to Malicious Compliance Stories. Let's jump to a story where a Karen tries to bluff her way into a hotel room, but ends up getting caught in her own web of lies. But before we dive in, make sure to hit that subscribe button, smash the like if you enjoy the content, and ring that notification bell so you never miss a juicy story. Woman lies about being with a convention to try and get a room. Doesn't expect convention chairman to be standing right there. I worked at a hotel that had a lot of conventions. One weekend we were at capacity with no rooms to spare for one big company. Cue the entitled bee who didn't have a reservation. I'll call her Karen. Karen asks to check in and gives me her name. I look her up, find nothing. She claims she has a reservation but can't give me a confirmation number or any other information about it. I tell her it ain't happening. No reservation, no room. She demands the manager, where I happily smile and reply, "That's me." She scuttles off angry. An hour or so later, my manager shows up and asks about the woman. Karen had gone to the hotel restaurant and demanded my manager to complain about me. Turns out she's with the convention. She never told me that, and there's some kind of misunderstanding with her reservation. As we're looking at the computer, Karen comes back up, smug, to see my manager standing over me. She asks if we found her reservation. We say no, we're trying to locate a room for her. She starts to give us crap, saying we're unprofessional and she'd be recommending another hotel to her company for the future. Then she goes off to find the bathroom. While she's gone, another woman comes to the front desk. She's the chairman, I can't recall her official title, of the convention group. She wanted to go over the list of people checking in that day and the rooms they're assigned. Me. Perfect timing. We have one person with your group that doesn't have a reservation. Her name is Karen? Chairman. Karen. She flips through the paperwork. I don't have anyone named Karen listed, and I know pretty much everyone. I see Karen come out of the bathroom. I wave her over, and she looks happy like she's gotten her way. She approaches the desk. My manager. Karen, I assume you know the chairman. She's not finding your name on the list for rooms. Chairman, I'm sorry, we've never met. You're with company name? Karen's eyes get all wide. She says, oh, no, not that company, the other convention this weekend. Me, we only have one convention here this weekend, Karen. Knowing she's caught, Karen goes ballistic. She demands, are you calling me a liar? Yeah. But we all just stand there and look at her. My manager, Karen, I'm sorry, but if you aren't with the convention, we can't offer you a room this evening. We're booked solid. Karen turns around and walks away. Doesn't say another word. I guess when you're caught lying, there really isn't much more to say. The lengths people go to. Sometimes I think that I can't be surprised anymore, and then stories like this get posted. I'd imagine that doing stuff like this can get you arrested for fraud. And our second story. Burger King Karen. I was in a local BK today waiting to give my order. I noticed the employee at the register was special needs, so he was a little slower taking everyone's order, which was totally fine, but he was very thorough and very sweet. My son's on the spectrum, and he reminded me of my boy. He also made sure he repeated everything back to the person who ordered, so he knew he got it correct. I was about to step closer to order when Karen came flying over and cut in front of me, waving her wrapped Whopper. Excuse me, I need to know if there's any salt on my Whopper. I ordered it with pickles and no salt, and I see that the little picture of pickles is crossed out, but I don't see any picture of salt that's crossed out. I need to know if you added salt to my Whopper. The employee says, ma'am, I made sure I pushed the no seasonings button on the register when you ordered. I also turned around and told them, special order, no seasonings on your burger. And then I asked them when they handed it to me just to make sure. And it's on the receipt, it says no seasonings. She then starts yelling at the poor employee, but I need to know it doesn't have salt. See, the pickle thing is crossed out, but I really don't like salt, so I need to know there's no salt on it. He explains again what Carrie took to make sure that there was no salt on Karen's burger. By then, the manager wandered over. Manager says, ma'am, he made sure they made your burger with the utmost care. I can assure you there's no added salt. There may be a small amount already in the mayo and the bread, but there's none in the tomatoes, onions, or lettuce, and he already said there's no pickles on your burger. Karen goes up an entire octave. I didn't know was possible. I see the pickle picture is crossed out on the wrapper, I need to know there's no salt added. Finally, the manager takes the wrapped Whopper from her, pulls a black marker out of his pocket, and proceeds to draw a little salt shaker on the wrapper. Then he points to it, crosses it out, and says, "See, no salt," and hands it back to her. Well, I couldn't help but bust out laughing so loud. Karen grabs the Whopper out of his hands, turns around, and gives me her best Karen look and storms off to eat her salt-free, no-pickles Whopper. I ordered, told them both they were my heroes, and enjoyed my Whopper with cheese. The cheese was circled on my Whopper. They're very thorough. Edit. Maybe I made a mistake in describing the employee as special needs. I was trying to portray a person who just may be on the spectrum, like my son. I was so proud of him for handling the Karen with grace. He didn't let her fluster him. I'm not sure I could ever make everyone happy with a narrow description of nuanced person, but please forgive me. Savage. I love it. I wonder if she has any idea what the sodium content of a fast food hamburger is. Like 1/5 of the entire patty's probably salt. And our next story. Can't ride a bike? Don't sign up for a bike tour. I used to be a bicycle tour guide in Amsterdam, and the amount of people who don't know how to ride, yet still to come, is astonishing. Like 10%. It was so bad that I would personally ask every single person if they knew how to ride before the tour. But they all would lie. If you haven't been to Amsterdam, the bicycle is the predominant vehicle used by residents to get anywhere in the city, and because of this, there's incredibly well-thought-out infrastructure set up for this. Separate bike lanes, dedicated lights for bikes, good parking availability, etc. And this also means that all the locals are very good cyclists and generally not too forgiving of tourists clogging up the roads and getting in their way. One day I had a couple show up wearing full touring outfits, Lycra helmets with mirrors, etc. I was chatting with them before the tour and was told that the guy owns a bicycle shop back in his home country and wanted to get some pictures for his shop. I double-checked that they could ride and was assured that it was not an issue. So I began my safety briefing, get everyone set up with their bike, and we begin. As we get to the first corner, I look back and see that the guy's wife is having serious trouble with her bike. I instruct the group to wait for me at the corner, go back to see what the problem is, and she just cannot ride. I asked her when the last time she rode was, and she informed me it was 30-plus years ago. I politely ask if she really wants to do this tour, and she's really not interested. She's just doing it for her husband, LOL. I tell her that her ride's over. There's no way it's safe for her to come along. We'll refund her the ticket cost, and we'll be back in about 3.5 hours. She asks what there is in the area for her to do while we're gone, and this is where I get a little idea. I ask her if she has her credit cards with her and direct her to PC Hoofstraat, which is just a few blocks away. This is basically the Rodeo Drive of Amsterdam, Gucci, Fendi, etc., all the serious designer stores. So we continue our ride without her, get back to the shop, and this lady sitting outside on a bench surrounded by a small mountain of shopping bags, had to be many thousands of euros worth of stuff. I look back at her husband, whose eyes are bulging as he reads the names on the bags and is calculating how much money was just spent. Moral of the story, don't bring people who cannot ride on my bike tour. How strange. I wonder if they think you'll teach them to ride before the tour. You might want to state it in your ads that you don't teach bike riding and you must know how to ride a bike before coming on the tour. And our next story. I'll sue you for your fence. When my partner and I moved into our new home, we knew we were the youngest couple on the block by a good margin. Most of our neighbors are retired and have lived here for over 15 years. The previous owner left us with a stunning garden that quickly became the talk of the neighborhood. We appreciated the compliments, but at the end of the day, this is our home. We're paying the mortgage, not them. As we settled in and started making some renovations, we decided to put up a privacy fence. We even asked our next-door neighbors if they had any issues with it beforehand, and they said it was fine. But once the fence was up, one of the neighbors completely freaked out. She sent a long, angry text saying that no one whose property touches ours, or even has a view of our yard, is happy about the fence. She went on to complain about us building a hot tub, loud music, loud voices, and parties ruining her ability to enjoy her yard. Here's the kicker. We're not building a hot tub. We haven't thrown a single party, and we've only lived here for 2 weeks. The only time we've had friends over was for yard work or some DIY projects, all during the day on weekends with no loud music or anything remotely disruptive. It seems like she's either preemptively judging us annoying kids or is just unhappy with us living our normal lives. Either way, it feels unreasonable. I get that remodeling can be a bit of a nuisance, but it's part of owning a home. Her complaints about us being too loud to enjoy her yard seem over the top, especially since we've been careful not to disturb anyone. The fact that she claims the entire neighborhood is upset with us just 2 weeks in is hard to believe, but it still sucks to think we might have pissed off the whole block already. Initially, I thought having a grumpy neighbor was just a rite of passage, but after she mentioned they might sue us over the fence, I'm done trying to smooth things over. If they want to turn this into a legal battle, I'm not backing down. Sounds like a great reason to build a privacy fence. Enjoy your new house and private outdoor space. And our last story. Karen wants me to leave water park because of my scars. Since the weather was finally warming up, my old friends and I decided to take a road trip. We're all in our mid-40s, having served together in the Army, and thought it would be a great idea to hit up a water park and theme park next to each other for a few days during spring break. We spent the first day at the theme park, had a blast, and then moved on to the water park a few days later. Now, being a water park, it was obvious I'd have my shirt off for most of the time. My body bears scars from my time in the service, some barely noticeable, like the one on my wrist from shrapnel, and others more prominent, like the jagged scar that stretches across my back. The first day at the water park went well. We were hitting all the slides and just enjoying ourselves. On my way back to our table from the bathroom, this woman, probably in her mid-40s, stopped me. I was a bit confused, but waited for her to speak. "Yes?" I asked. "I have the kids here, and I don't want them seeing that," she said, pointing directly at one of the scars on my wrist. I looked at her, slightly taken aback. "My scar? Is there something wrong with it?" "Yes, this is a place for kids, and I don't want you influencing them with those things." I wasn't really annoyed, just confused. This was a public place where 90% of the people had their shirts off, and I knew others likely had their own stories etched into their skin. I told her this is a public place, and everyone has their shirts off. I'm sure some of them have scars or tattoos too. She completely ignored my reasoning and told me to put my shirt back on, which I obviously refused. She threatened to call security, and I told her to go ahead. She threatened to call security, and I told her to go ahead. She stomped off, and I returned to my table where my friends were waiting, having seen the whole thing go down. A few minutes later, as we were heading to another slide, she came running up with a security guard in tow. She told him I wasn't supposed to have them out, and he was just as puzzled as I was, since she hadn't been specific. He asked her what she meant. She angrily pointed at my scars. "Those!" He looked at her, then at me, and asked what was wrong with them. She started ranting about how this was a kid's place and how she didn't want her children exposed to that. The guard apologized to me and told her to stop bothering us. She stormed off in a huff, and we continued enjoying our day. I saw her a few more times during the trip, but I don't think she spotted me again. Proper response to this is, "Okay, Karen," and walk away. If she follows you, you can go to security and say that she's stalking you through the park. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.